Welcome to Upfront with Waheed Hussain. Today we are going to once again discuss about the Middle East, especially the Americans have sanctioned Iranian various sectors, individuals, entities, and special vessels. Uh, these sanctions are naturally the Americans have taken this step to further um, sideline the Iranian economy and the financial sector. So I have a very prominent guest with me today, Dr. Hassan Butt. He is a senior associate professor at Baria University, Islamabad. Thank you very much, Dr. Hassan, for joining me. Kindly tell me how these sanctions are going to affect the economic and financial health of the Iranians' economy.
I think on the rhetoric part, I mean, both sides are claiming, making tall claims. Scott Bassett, the finance secretary, has been saying that this is like a D-Day, financial D-Day. President Trump has also highlighted almost similar, in a similar tone, very aggressive tone. Whereas the Iranians have reciprocated by saying that they are well prepared. They have 2 years of, uh, you know, laid down um, results, or perhaps a way forward out of these sanctions if they ever happen. So I think both sides are making big claims. I'm not sure how will the implications will be when the sanctions are in place, and it impacts the free flow of oil and cargo within Strait of Hormuz. It's already impacting, since 28th of February. The overall global economic order is in bad shape. Every day you hear a new price escalation in oil and gasoline prices. So I think overall, uh, if this happens, the impact would be much more, and I'm not sure how will we, especially countries in the neighborhood of Iran, how would they reciprocate? Our field marshal travel to Iran for discussions. I'm sure these economic sanctions and the voice and the alarms that are coming from US must have been discussed. So interesting times ahead. Pakistan as its neighbor has more challenges, not just in terms of the diplomatic effort, because if these sanctions are in place, every step towards normalcy becomes difficult. I mean, um, and China has given its response on these sanctions. China has stated that any unilateral sanctions are against the global order, because China has, I think, imports about 80% of Iranian oil. So, as I said, interesting times ahead, and we'll see how it
Okay,
passes.
okay. Dr. Hassan, kindly tell me that since the Iranian economy, it is uh, their inflation is around 350%. Their currency is under pressure, immense pressure, in fact. Even the daily use items are very expensive. Today, I was just watching one of the international media reporting, and they were saying that definitely the new sanctions will have a bad impact on the daily used item, in fact, the kitchen item, most probably. So, do you think that the Americans, once they have been talking about missiles and attacks and bombardment and elimination of the leadership, today they are talking about sanctions, banning, the export of oil from the Iranian borders. So, do you think that it is a kind of uh, militarily, it is a defeat for the Americans' uh, concept of taking over Iran or winning the Iranian war?
Yeah, I'm not too sure whether it's a defeat of US overall, but I think the targets and when you go for a war, you give certain results that you want to accrue from any similar undertaking to your, not just to your soldiers but also to the larger public, because you don't fight wars on your own money, you fight it on public money. And therefore, the apparently the targets those were given initially, nuclear weapons, disarmament, total annihilation of Iranian economy and Iranian society. I think those targets and claims that were made initially, they have not been achieved, apparently, as per the media reports again. As I said, Iranian economic minister has said that we are prepared for 2 years of similar challenges. And then, of course, on the oil part that you mentioned, China exports to, sorry, Iran exports to China, and China has stated that these unilateral sanctions are not acceptable. So I think the impact, as I said, maybe, of course, the stress and on the economy will be there, but whether that stress they can bear for a longer period of time, I'm not sure. And again, if these economic sanctions do not bear the results that the US leadership is assuming, then I think it will be more embarrassment on their side. So I guess they need to again perhaps look at the drawing board, look at what are the results that they wanted to, not just from the military arsenal and the military use of force, but on from these economic impact. Because if similar targets are not achieved, then the overall impact on the society is not good. Overall, globally, US as the largest military power, largest economic power, if they if the results are not achieved on the military front and are not achieved on the economic front, then their claims of being number one gets a jolt, I guess.
Dr. Hassan, as we have mentioned about the Chinese, that uh, their spokesperson said that unilateral sanctions will not, have a kind of a positive impact on the international trade. Uh, do you think that the sanctions that the Americans have been imposing internationally, especially on the Iranians, they were on the in the past they were on the financial institutions like banks. They were on the international, financial institutions, international companies which were operating not bilaterally but multilaterally. The Chinese companies and the Chinese economic system and financial system uh, does operate, more than one country. So, do you think that Chinese are not going to accept any kind of a sanctions or whatever the list they are going to share internationally? Because President Xi is going to visit America next month, and we have seen the American president visit to the Chinese. So, America doesn't want to have a kind of a or economic further, kind of a conflict with China. So how we can compare this vis-a-vis the Iranians, sanctions?
I think the Iranian sanctions, if they are imposed, um, has to have certain level of acceptance from the Chinese side. And if they do not accept, I think the overall impact will be much, much, much lesser than what US is highlighting or perhaps advocating. Because, as I said, Iranian oil is exported to them. Iran have been living in sanctions for so many years. Their society has been tailored to live within sanctions. The Iranian society overall, or for any reason, the Muslim society works in a circular manner. And of course, there is, as we speak, enough food. Of course, the cost of living, the inflation of normal item is much much higher. But within this inflation, it was never less in the past 6 months or earlier also. So if they can sustain a war with this inflation, with the similar sort of economy, I think they will be able to sustain these sanctions. This is what I believe. I think the impact of neighboring countries and countries like Pakistan who want to, be the mediator will be more than, on Iran. And why I'm saying this is because Pakistan wants to have good relations with US. Pakistan wants to mediate this war. Pakistan wants this war to end because of its economic impact here in our society also, the cost of fuel, the cost of living, inflation, everything. And then of course our workers are working in Middle East. If this continues, this will impact remittance flow also. It will impact on the Chinese side. I think on the digital currency and overall, strength of US dollar, I do not see that reducing anytime. But I think Iran and Chinese are already doing trade not through dollars but through other reserve currencies, including yuan, and they have been doing this for many years. And if these sanctions are imposed, then alternate solutions will be sought. But I think before the visit of President Xi Jinping, because President Xi Jinping will not go and discuss anything controversial during a visit which is happening after a long time and is happening at a very important juncture. So I think they would try to use diplomacy, perhaps use Pakistan also in its effort, and support Pakistan in its effort, neighboring countries like UAE. So the before President Xi lands in US, I think things are in a much better state because for me, I think China will not accept any sanction, or at least on the part where there is bilateral trade between Iran and China.
Dr. Hassan, kindly tell me that do you think that the domestic, the sanctions that the Americans have announced, it is for the domestic public more, considering that the Americans are going to have a midterm elections in a couple of months' time?
I think during the elections, the discussion will be more about inflation, about fuel costs, about how normal way of life is being impacted by this war, but not too much, I believe, on the outcome of the war. Because of course the society at large, when you go to a war, there is an enemy against which you fight a war, and a narrative is built over the years, and especially since the start in February the 28th. I think the society would be divided in reviewing the outcome of the war. People who support Donald Trump, if uh, the outcome remains as it is now and no solution is found, then people on the Trump side would advocate whatever has happened in a different way, and the people who are on the opposite side of the political sphere will advocate in differently. It's the people who are in the margin of taking decision. So I think for them, inflation would matter more, the economic value would matter more, and I think you will see them swing against the incumbent government if the outcome is not resolved by that time. But as I said, President Xi would also try that before his visit there is some settlement, and when both leaders meet, they meet and discuss areas and opportunities, especially in technology, AI, and the areas that was discussed during the visit of President Trump to China. So I see better times ahead. I hope our role, our Field Marshal as he is in Iran, would be useful. I think UAE again would also be critical. Saudi, Pakistan, Turkey will be very very careful in moving forward because they want a peaceful settlement of this, especially after the Defense Act. I think role of Pakistan will be more significant in the region. But if the economic challenges continue because of the war, then perhaps even for us domestically, challenges will happen because, again, at the end of the day, it's about the food that you get on your table and the food that you can feed to your children, if it gets expensive, people less care less about what happens outside your border, I guess. And that's true for
Absolutely right. Yeah,
that's true for Pakistan, but that's also true for economy in US. People
yeah.
care about how they eat and how they live.
Of course, you're absolutely right that the domestic inflation in America has hit the public badly in last a few months, and naturally, Pakistan is also going through the same inflation and price hike stress for last many months, especially after the war. Thank you very much, Dr. Hassan Butt, Senior Associate Professor at Bahria University, Islamabad. Thank you for
Thank you.
joining.